Okay, so we're rolling, huh?
Yes.
Well, good evening, everybody.
Hi, Jerry.
Hello. We'll start with introducing ourselves. We'll start with Kathleen.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Drain, and I'm from the unincorporated portion of the Sandy District.
And I'm Lynn Freeman, and I'm from the unincorporated portion of Sandy District.
And I'm Jerry McMahon, and I'm from the Hoodland area.
And I'm George Hoyt, representing the Friends of the Library for the last time.
Whoa.
Oh.
And my name is Heather Miche, and I am an incorporated in the city member and also vice chair.
So,
I'm
oh yes,
Sarah McIntyre, and I'm the library director.
okay. So we'll start with our guest this evening, and Lynn. This is Lynn Pollard from the Hoodland area. She wants to apply for the open position for the Hoodland area. So you want to step up to the microphone for us and tell us about yourself.
So did you all see the copies of my application?
No,
It
we
hasn't
didn't.
been shared yet.
Okay, so I'm retired. I have a background. I was actually doing a master's degree at Portland State in education and library science when I was hired away by Nike to set up a special library at Nike, so I did that. And went on to other things at Nike. And then more recently, I retired from Oregon Public Broadcasting, where I was vice president in charge of digital, which also included supervision of the media archives. And when I say supervision, I mean trying to clear up lots of stuff, none of it cataloged. It's really an interesting challenge.
So Lynn, I've known Lynn for what, 40 years maybe. Our kids grew up together on the mountain, and we're also in the women's club together. And I said, "Would you like to apply for the library?" And
Not towering over her.
Yeah. And actually, she went home, and an hour later, after we finished having our luncheon, I had her application. So,
Excellent.
yeah.
Great.
So
I think
how often do you use the Hoodland Library, or do you? With your schedule, you might not have been able to
No, I didn't.
make use of it.
And it's interesting because since putting my application in, I shot over there. I should probably. I think the last time I personally used it, there was a bookmobile, which was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Before
but it
all
was
of us.
interesting. Talking to Jerry about the needs in the community, I always take them as read. The libraries are just really vital parts of the community. And in the digital world, I'm totally Kindle. At this point, I resisted for a long time, like the feel of a book, but it's very handy. It's great for traveling. I was just on the trip, and I probably read 10 books while I was on the trip, or on one device. So it makes it handy. But I think the importance of people who don't have those gadgets, can't afford those gadgets. I was really quite impressed with the library when I went in. As it's its own little community center, as it should always be in the community. You had a quiet room, people working. You had the computers, internet access, free Wi-Fi. Just a lot of things that I just thought were really important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have a question for you. Do you know what the usage stats are for Hoodland?
We will probably review I do a report every year for the state of Oregon, and we'll probably review that report in February when we meet, since we're not reviewing it this time around. But generally, the statistics are combined for both libraries. So I should probably pull some of those statistics out so that you can see how much use Hoodland gets.
Mm-hmm.
It is a very important part of the community there, and it is well used.
Yeah. And that was really more my question, is it well used?
Right.
I mean, as a community, there is no community center, there is no heart at Welch's, Hoodlands, Exact Villages, and Mount Hood, whatever the latest thing is. And that's as close as it comes, I think, to having a community center.
Yeah, it is. Uh-huh. Especially with the programs that you offer up there. So,
Was the library that you set up at Nike, was that for shoe resources or?
No, it was actually in the IT division.
Hmm.
I've been in and out of IT my whole life, in spite of myself. I'm really not a technical person, and I ended up, leading digital. I've never written a line of code in my life. It became a point of pride by the end. I'm going to get out of this without ever writing a line of code. So it was actually in the IT area. It was back in, I think, 91 or 92, I don't remember exactly, pre-internet, well, pre-World Wide Web.
Yeah.
And it was IBM manuals, technical resources, and then research. It was really what they wanted was a researcher who, as new technologies came along, could look into them and sort of inform them to keep up to speed. So that's where it began. A lot of cleanup to start with. First thing I did was build a database, not writing code, but using good old FileMaker Pro back in the day, and having someone assist me so that it was a self-service check-in, check-out on the computer. And then we just sort of went from there and sort of built it into a resource center. Nike at that time, we were the second library. The first library was in the design area. And that was a beautiful library.
Have you used, I'm sorry, forgive me.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Have you used any of the digital resources that the library has available via its web pages? Have you had?
I haven't for Hoodland. I did for years with other libraries.
We do have ebooks and e-audiobooks that you can check out for free for your device.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, I saw the audiobooks on not digital, but and libraries, I'm preaching to the choir here, but libraries and librarians have been at the heart of the digital revolution. I was going to the Special Libraries Association, again, back in the early 90s when I first saw the very first web browser, which was it Mosaic? I can't remember. Yeah, anyway. And I remember seeing it, and somebody was just demoing it. It was so new, and just thinking, well, that changes everything. It's just mind-blowing to see what was possible to put everything into this one area. It was really absolutely extraordinary. I should immediately have run out and bought stock, but anyway.
Yeah.
And it really has, maybe it's gone a little further than many of us would have wanted it. I'm a bit with Tim Berners-Lee and his new initiative right now to get some sanity back in, but it was just an extraordinary concept. And I remember actually even before the World Wide Web doing some research back in when it was just sort of chats and message boards and so on, and putting out a message about something, and then the author of the book replying and giving the answer, and we just well,
okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
And our other guest, your name is Blanca? Come on up.
Alrighty, hi everybody, my name is Blanca, as you know. I live here in Sandy, so I'm a member.
You have to talk a little louder.
Oh, okay, I'm
So
sorry.
I can hear you.
Okay, so my name is Blanca. I live here in Sandy.
Uh-huh.
I'm a member of the community. And then, Katie told me if I was interested to come here, and I said, yeah, of course.
Mhm.
So that's why I'm here.
Yay.
Good.
Do you use the library?
Yes.
Yeah, so knowing Katie, that kind of
Yeah.
sounds implicit that you know, yeah.
She goes usually to Sandy Beach Apartments, that's where I live,
Mm-hmm.
for the classes and things like that. So sometimes I help her out, not with that, but with other things.
Great, wonderful.
Good.
What else do you do, Blanca?
Well, I work, and also I am a cosmetology student.
Mhm.
At this time, I finished baccalaureate, but I'm doing nails, so you can see I practice on my own. That's why I have this right now. So yeah, that's about it. I have a family, I have 3 kids, I'm married, and yeah.
Do your kids come into the library building too, or do you mainly use the resources at Vista when Katie is there?
Yeah, we usually use the resources in Sandy because sometimes I have to work in the afternoons, and it's really, really good for us when we go down there because sometimes yeah, we use it a lot.
How old are your children?
So the oldest one is 9, then 6, and then my little girl is 3.5.
Okay, all right. So you'll soon have readers that you need to
Yes.
promote.
Yes.
So if you were on this advisory board, would that help you understand how the library works and you could help others
Yeah.
learn about it? Yeah.
Well, actually, I was working with Katie because we had a situation before with this family, and I was trying to help them out, and then Katie was one of the members that we had at that meeting, so that's how I met her. And yeah, because like I said, we don't even come to the library, it's one of the things that on there. And then I know some of the resources because I work for Head Start, as I used to be the assistant of the family advocates, and I know of some family resources and things like that. So that's how we, and I think that being here, I'm gonna be able to get a little more resources or more information about how the city actually, the city of Sandy actually works, and then, yeah. So that's what I'm going to learn.
Do you have any problem with the evening meetings with your schooling?
Yeah, sometimes. Like
Okay.
I requested it, but I mean, if it's just gonna be, they told me it's okay if it's like once a month or something like that, but when it's pretty often, that's a little bit hard for me, but yeah.
No more than once a month, and
Yeah.
probably,
Yeah.
and probably less than that.
Yeah, right.
It shouldn't-
Okay.
That
It
shouldn't
should
be a problem.
I'll probably be able to come.
Our next meeting isn't going to be until February, for example.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
And also, well, my English is not 100% good, so.
Oh, your English is great. Your English is great.
Get better.
Our Spanish, not so much.
Sorry to say.
A little bit, but, yeah.
That's a little bit.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you for
wonderful.
coming,
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Blanca.
Okay, we're gonna move on to the meeting minutes from October.
I noticed a couple things that I thought should be added, and this is obviously subject to consideration. In 3.1, I thought that we should include that the City of Sandy approved the IGA changes on October 1, because the city's approval wasn't noted
Mm.
in the minutes. And on page 2, in 3.2, fourth dot, it says task force proposed subcommittee to give guidelines for correct process and procedures. That was actually an LDAC subcommittee. Not, that wasn't a task force. So it would just say task force proposed would be deleted and LDAC would be substituted.
Mm.
I'm sorry, we have technical difficulties. The attachments aren't actually coming up
Do you-
when I
do you
click
want
on
this
them,
copy?
so
Does that help you? We have a copy.
unfortunately we can't review
Speaking of the
those
World Wide Web.
on the screen right now.
So those of us who printed were wise.
Thank you.
Right.
I do have one copy, if somebody wants to utilize it.
Well, actually, Lynn has a hard copy here, so she can,
She's got
Okay.
a hard
she's,
copy. I have
she's
a hard
marking
copy.
hers.
It was 3.2? and
Yes,
fourth-
this, on
Right
the, on
here,
the
task-
fourth,
Oh, on
right
the
here.
fourth one.
so
Task
delete task force proposed, just put a line through that,
Mhm.
and then after that, write LDAC. I'll give you a photocopy
Okay.
of my page.
Yeah.
And did you get the one?
In 3.1, you thought the city of Sandy should be included for approval?
And it was approved on
October 1. Because Sarah told us about it having,
Oh, no, it's here. This is,
It's here, yeah.
is this?
yeah, it's right there. That's
Is-
correct.
Is this the minutes? This is the minutes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep,
It
that's
just
the
looked
minutes.
like, so much like the agenda for this
Uh-huh.
meeting that I couldn't tell it was the minutes. I'm
Right.
sorry.
So is this format of the minutes, is that their format that we fit our minutes into, or?
So it's the same as the agenda,
Uh-huh.
and then the minutes are underneath each item
Oh, I
as bullet
see.
points. And
Yeah.
we did bullet points. We could easily do a narrative if you prefer narrative.
I was thinking if it were ABC, it would make it easier to reference a change,
Mm-hmm.
as
Okay.
opposed to
Right.
the
The fourth
bullets,
dot.
Right,
the
Yeah.
dots.
yeah,
So if you could
3.1
just
dot
do
A.
ABC
Mhm.
on
Right.
that, that would help us when we
Mm-hmm.
record
Perfect.
an amendment.
Mhm. Or refer to one,
Right,
Mhm.
yeah.
right. And then there was just one typo at the bottom of page 2. It made a motion, and then
Ah,
I motion is just
Motion.
yeah.
just extra
Mhm.
extra letters in there. So can you edit those right there?
I can't.
Oh,
Oh,
These are just PDFs of the
Mhm.
documents.
See that,
okay.
That would be great if I could, though.
Yes, that would be
okay.
interesting.
So, do we approve the minutes with the changes that were made?
I move that we approve the minutes with changes of the October meeting.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Indeed. Aye.
Opposed? Nope. Okay. So now we're at new business.
Mm-hmm.
The annual report to the city council?
Yes. So the city council would like us to do an annual report for each advisory board, where probably the chair comes to either a city council meeting or a city council workshop. And so I just wanted to talk about what we might think about putting in an annual report. Kim was hoping to have a city council retreat by the end of December. And she was sort of hoping that library board chairs could come to that retreat to give reports, giving the city council a full view of what's going on in the city so that when they're making their goals for the coming year, the coming cycle, they can sort of think about all of the things that the board chairs relate to them. So that might be things that we're talking about, or things that we've done or accomplished, and it could be kind of what we see coming up in the next year, kind of things.
That could be a way to map out, according to our strategic plan, what we have in the next phase of that, that we could do in addition to what we've done, you know, this calendar, or this fiscal year, right? And then,
Is that limited to 1 year or 2 years, since you in fact are going into a 2-year planning and budget cycle?
We probably would be thinking forward 2 years if we know something is coming up within that 2-year period. Yes.
It seems like a very good time to present to the city council the challenges that are going to be faced with the library district advisory council plus the task force, the big task force, to try to get them to commit to which city representatives will devote themselves to that project. And then that will give us someone to talk to and keep abreast. and to let them know what types of issues might be coming up that will require them to make a decision.
For our audience members' benefits, could you just
Yes.
outline a little bit
And-
about what the task force is going to be?
And with that too, do we have an extra agenda, just so that we can give Lynn and Blanca one, so that they're
Yeah.
not feeling quite so out of the
Left
loop?
out.
Yeah,
We could turn on the screen
Oh, there you
back
go.
there.
yeah.
Or they could sit up here, or there's an extra screen right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's two
You can
chairs.
sit
That's,
up
yeah, they
here.
can sit up
Why
here
don't you
too.
come and
There's
sit
two
up
chairs.
here?
Yeah.
Well, let me see.
They can just sit over here and look at that computer.
Hey, whatever you're most comfortable with.
Yeah.
They're nice, they're very comfortable chairs up here, you guys.
Can't see it from
Can
back
you-
there.
No.
You're welcome to come and sit in these
Yeah.
2 chairs.
Yeah,
Because I don't think you
Yeah.
can see that. very
I can hardly read it from here, so,
Yeah.
with my glasses on.
Yeah, it's pretty tough to read on the
Yeah.
screen.
So in addition to the library board that you're seeing now, which acts as the local board for the Sandy and the Hoodland Library District, the 2 libraries send a representative to a county board that oversees the whole, what's the right way to say it, the district, right? We're 2 libraries within a 13 library consortium. And that's all within the bounds of Clackamas County. And so there is a library board that has a representative from those libraries that gives advice to the county commissioners on the operation of the consortium. And mostly it attends to reviewing how the funds are distributed, and are they distributed fairly, and are they used as proposed in the revenue measure that we passed in
98.
1998. Okay.
No, 2008.
2008.
2000,
right,
yeah,
right,
sorry.
2008, right. So we're just 10 years into that process. That group meets how many times? Probably 6 or 8 times a year, but it varies.
It varies, but probably 6 to 8. Maybe, maybe more now that these 2 study groups are underway.
Right. And the county commissioners stated in January through March, through a series of meetings that we had with them, that they would like to have a task force that is composed of members of this advisory council, city representatives, actual city council representatives or city managers, and the library directors to basically do a fresh look at the whole district. Are we providing the services we should be providing? Do we have enough money to do everything that people would hope to do? If we don't have enough money, do we try to get more money from taxpayers, or do we change what we will supply? So this is going to be a 2-year process. And we haven't started it yet, but it's supposed to start in
6 months have run, and
right. It will probably, the organization of it will start probably around January. My guess is there will not be a first meeting until the spring or something like that, but we need to get a buy-in from the city of Sandy, from the city council and the city manager to this process to help us go forward. Does that
That,
state
right,
it?
yeah.
Okay.
She's really the
And
best
if
one
it-
to explain it.
right.
I can't explain it.
And if it's
I'm on the committee.
And if it's completely gibberish, don't worry about it. It's like, it's pretty pretty complicated, and most, unless you're right in it, I mean, yeah.
Just think of it as the group that looks at and thinks about those taxes that you pay soon, that says
Yeah.
library district.
Mhm.
Right, it's an actual line item on your taxes. And we try to make sure that those dollars are spent well and as demanded by the taxpayers, and then have to look to the future of whether we can continue to provide the services that we want to provide with the revenue stream that we have. So it's a dedicated revenue stream. Anyway, so I would think that when you give the report, that would be a great time to raise that project, because it's,
To participate in it.
and find out who's going to be the
Yeah.
primary actor or primary actors in that.
At the meeting
On the task force?
or the task force? you're talking
At the retreat.
about?
At the retreat, which city councilors and,
City
well,
manager.
will be a new city manager
Yeah.
eventually, right? But trying to get them to commit to being part of this process, and that they're going to need to focus on it at some point and give some time to it.
Right.
Well, I would recommend you go to the retreat.
We'll see.
Okay, or Sarah can cover that.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
but
or
that's-
Sarah, yeah.
This is probably a good time to bring up the next item, 3.2, which is library annex possibility, because I think this is also something we would talk about at the city council retreat. As most of you know who come into the Sandy Library is, especially after school time, bursting at the seams. Every chair is taken. We have lots of middle schoolers on the computers, using the study rooms, congregating in groups, and we really need an additional space for those middle schoolers, the teenagers, and for library programs. Our library programs are starting to outgrow the community room. We've had, the haunted library this year drew 309 people. We had a tent in the parking lot for that and had the doors open. The Dia de los Niños program, and even the Dia de los Muertos program, which was just held. Katie said there were over 100 people at the Dia de los Muertos programs. Dia de los Niños, I think, had something like 300 people, and we do that all through the library, but not every program can we do that with and utilize the entire library and upset all of our regular library patrons who just want to go in to check out books or have a quiet study time when the program's going on. So we really have a need for a larger, different space. We would also like to have a maker space where people can come in and use a 3D printer or a sewing machine or whatever they wanted to utilize for the community. So those are some reasons, and I've been talking with Kim, our current city manager, for a while about this need, and so Kathy pointed out, it showed up in an article in the Mountain Times, the possibility that this current building could be a library annex. Since then, we've probably changed our thought a little bit, and thinking that because Kim was thinking that the city hall could move to the Sandy Community Campus, but we figure it would make more sense to have the library move to Sandy Community Campus, since that's an area that we want to be part of eventually anyway. But anyway, the need for space is definitely there, and so we probably need to talk to City Council about really thinking about that and helping us solve our space need.
Wow. Okay. So are you, any questions on that, or?
Lots.
Just as
But
a,
probably for another
We're not-
time, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
unless we wanted to go home tonight.
Yeah. Is there anything else that we can think of for the annual report to City Council that we need to kind of at least jot down in our notes so that when it arises, we'll have some?
I assume that you're going to include comparative statistics on programs last year, this year, now that you got 2 years' data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have 5 years data, really.
Well, and some, yeah.
Yeah.
How much detail do they want on that? Do you have a sense? Because you give them that report
I give them
monthly as you generate a report, right?
Right. I give them a monthly report of all the programs that happened that month and how many people attend the programs and things like that. But I rarely, probably once a year, I give them a broad picture, comparison of years or kind of thinking about those things. So this would be my time to do that at their retreat, ultimately. Yeah.
And you've already reported on the strategic plan that we went through.
Yes, and they approved the strategic plan when it was created. And then I gave them the first year's report of the parts of the strategic plan we've been working on so far.
Yeah. So you would just update that. Well, we're rewriting the bylaws, just cleaning things up.
Have we done anything else significant, do you feel like, in the last?
We did the standards. We went
That's
through
true.
those.
We went through the library
Standards.
standards?
Yeah, that was a lot of process
was
to do
several
that,
meetings.
and there were some
Outcomes from that.
some outcomes, yes, so some pricing,
Mhm.
and some good reflection on how we're meeting up or not
Mhm.
to the excellence, and I think that's the key to point out,
Mhm.
is that, striving for the excellence in the performance as opposed to whatever, the meets and then satisfactory and so on.
Right.
Yeah.
That seems really important to let them know that you engaged in both a quantitative and a qualitative analysis
Mhm.
of services, using a template that provided a really good basis for discussion.
Mhm. Right, it brought up a lot of points that we hadn't really thought about.
Right.
I mean, that we had to really think about when they came up in the meetings, and with the different points in the standards.
Is that good?
Yeah.
You got a lot.
That's probably more than they're gonna
Yeah.
want.
How much time are they going to give you, 20
Yeah.
minutes?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You
And
want
I-
to move
yeah.
on to the kids' program analysis?
Sure. So
Oh, good.
let's see if I can make this a little bit larger.
Thank you.
Is that big enough for you guys to see?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this is Sandy, and then we'll do Hoodland after we look at Sandy. I have it broken up like I did the teen and adult. So this is 2015-16. There's 2016, 2017, and 2017, 2018 in our programs. So in 2015-2016, our summer reading programs seemed to cost an awful lot, but that is because we had programs in June of 2016, which were for the next year, but they show up in the 2015-2016 because that's where they are in the budget cycle. So just be aware of that. So it didn't really cost $20 a kid for those programs, because in the next year, you can see it costs $8.28. So it's probably somewhere more like 14 or something in both years. Let's see, what else did I see? In 2015-2016, on the bottom part of the screen, we did a Dr. Seuss's birthday party, which we played a movie at that the Friends of the Library paid for the movie licensing. So that one was way more expensive. That Dr. Seuss program would cost $13.10 a kid, you'll see. And then the following couple years, we did
Way more.
story time and craft that Monica put on, so it was way less expensive. So that's another thing to kind of think about, $4.42 the next year. And the year after that, it was only 18 cents because we had 134 people come to it.
Wow.
So that was an example, and that took place in the community room. And if you can imagine 134 people in that community room, which technically and I probably shouldn't say this, yeah, has a capacity of 72. I mean, most of them are little kids sitting on the floor, which is why we can get so many of them in there, but we shouldn't have more than 72 people in that room at any given time. So that is a great example of a program being too large for its bounds. Dia de los Niños program, I'm happy to say we've done it all 3 of those years. And I think that 2015, 2016 might be the first year that we started it. It cost $1.33 a kid. It had 150 people at it that first year. And then again, that wasn't throughout the whole library, so that's good. 200 people the second year, and cost
$333.
Yeah, $333. And then the third year, 350 people. So, and that's kind of the increases we're seeing in a lot of our larger programs, which is great. It's a great problem to have, to need more space, but it's also challenging.
How does, and this is off point a bit, so if you want me to not discuss this now, but how do you deal with having a special room that is only needed, you know, maybe once a quarter or once a month?
Or
That's an awful lot of empty space for the other 30 days. Wouldn't it make more sense that rather than the library having a special space, that they create a space at the community center that's available
Right,
for
to book.
lots of purposes that could be booked?
I would think that that's exactly what would happen, although if we had a larger space, we would probably create more events to use that space. So I would think we would be using it more regularly. We would be having makerspace classes there. We would be, I mean, we could even hold book clubs there. You know, even though they're small, it could be a multi-purpose kind of a room, ultimately, is what we're thinking. Whether it was here at City Hall, whether it's at Sandy Community Campus, whether we, you know, negotiate with one of the people downtown who might have an open storefront, we need something.
It's just that 350 people, that's a pretty big room,
Yes.
comparatively.
How big would you make this room?
Yeah.
Yeah. Our summer reading programs this year, though, I mean, and this was 4 programs, I think, had an average of 82 people at them. So even that out,
It's over.
yeah.
Have you done a scan of this and determined how many programs are
Over the.
oversized in the
I
sense of
haven't.
it?
That's probably the next
Because
thing I need to do.
That's your sales point. And I mean, and you're talking
Mm-hmm.
about these on a monthly basis. You show that demonstrates the particular need
Right.
to keep the fire department out of your hair.
Yeah.
Because the birthday parties, that was just a one-day event, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the ones on the bottom half of the
One
the
day.
thing are one
Oh,
day.
That's what it is.
And like Trick or Treat Trail is generally an outdoor activity near the community room door. We might have them go into the community room to look at things. But this year we had 3,200 people for Trick or Treat Trail. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, and over 2,000 kids. We handed out over 2,000 pieces of candy. We started handing out library pencils. Those poor kids who came at the end, but.
It lasts longer.
Yeah, right. You make a longer
The pencil
imprint.
does last much longer than the candy, I'm
Right,
sure.
right. And no buzz.
Yeah. Yeah, some parents may prefer the pencils over the candy, for sure. And then the ones at the top are kind of ongoing programs, which is why then they have an average attendance for those programs. And most of those are within the normal range, and they're like weekly programs. The Vista Apartments program is up there. This last year, or 2017, 2018, we had on average 18 kids or 18 people, so kids and parents there on a weekly basis, which is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Our preschool story times, we had on average 20. Our We Won story times on average 20, almost 28 people.
Now, when you count that, are you counting the adults
We're
and the
counting
children?
adults and kids, everybody who's at the program for those ongoing programs and for the regular programs, really. Yeah, even if it's a kid program, we count the adults who are there because they are there for the program. They're at the program with their kids.
Yeah, they
So-
wouldn't, the kids wouldn't be there if the adults weren't there.
Right,
So
And you
that's
have to
great.
provide the space.
right.
So why did preschool story time grow almost exponentially
In
this
that
year? Who gets the credit for that?
So Monica does toddler time and wee ones, and it's regular staff who are doing the preschool story time. So it's having a group of trained staff, and Monica is not totally worn out and, grabbing books at the last minute, so the staff have time to plan for them, and they're doing more well-rounded, so there's the 5 practices of reading, writing, playing, singing, and talking that they say that kids need to have before they can really go to preschool and be successful. So they're incorporating all of those things into it. So it's really about having a group of dedicated staff who can plan and put on a great story time, I think, is the growth there for both of them. So then Monica can focus on the wee ones, which is basically babies through toddler. And the other staff can focus on the preschool age.
It was an impressive increase.
Yeah. And I think just because we are doing more programs at the library, people see that the library has story times and they think, oh, we can go to the library story time, and they check it out and then they continue to come. Just because we are out in the community doing so much and advertising our programs on Facebook is a great source for getting the adults to come to programs, and adults have kids. So I think that marketing has made a huge difference too.
And I think the newsletter's getting a wider
Yeah.
reach too, isn't it?
Yeah, we
The-
currently have
That's my-
almost
that's my next-
2,000 people signed up to get the newsletter, and
Excellent.
it probably grows. We have it on the card application now. When people sign up for a library card, do you want to get the library newsletter? It's a checkbox they just have to check
Yeah.
off.
Good.
We add them to the list, and I probably get a group of 15 people's names every week who want to be added to the list for the newsletter.
Cool.
So,
And now we have a new reader board
yeah.
in the
Which
library.
is so handsome.
Yeah, it's really great.
Again, the graphics that Thea is doing on that reader board are strikingly handsome, very effective.
Yeah.
Good. So I can't see the agenda to see what's next.
Any other thoughts about
More kids program.
the kids programs at Sandy?
Me too.
Oh, I had just a question.
Yes.
You have an entry that shows summer reading programs above the line,
Uh-huh.
and then you have below the line summer reading supplies.
Yes.
Why are the total numbers different between, is that the number of packages that go out versus the number of
So the-
packages that are completed?
The summer reading programs number, those are just kids who attend the programs. That's what that number is. The summer reading, the kids finisher books and the summer reading prize, those are the number of kids who finished summer reading that year and were eligible for books and prizes. And then the summer reading supplies is the total number of packets that go out. So that's why that number is so much higher. Our goal is to get more and more finishers each year and get closer to that packet number, but it's tough, People come into the library so excited to pick up their packets, and then they go on vacation and they do all these things, and they never actually bring in their finished summer reading packet, and they may have even
Finished it.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But you had some really nice prizes, year, didn't
And
it?
we started advertising the prizes, and our finisher rates are slowly going up. When I first got here, Monica wasn't advertising the prizes for summer reading, and now she definitely does. So
What were the
that
prizes like at,
they were
It was a Kindle, wasn't it?
there was for adults there was a Kindle Fire.
Uh-huh.
For kids there was an iPad, and for teens
yeah.
there was an iPad. And this year the kids and teens had the chance of winning a ukulele as well because it was a music themed summer reading. So.
very good.
Yeah, I mean, if you think you might be able to win an iPad,
Yeah.
you might.
You probably turn your sheets in.
Yeah. I would.
Yeah.
Since the new iPad is 5 times as fast as the current iPad, you want to do it now.
Yeah, okay. Is there any more on the kids analysis program? We
So here's the Hoodland.
have the Hoodland one.
Great.
Yeah.
I need to.
Those have gone up too. The numbers are not
Yes.
huge, but
Let me see.
they're still going.
So here's 2015, 2016. And so the Hoodland summer reading is in 2015, and again, that was the year that we had programs in June as well. So that it was $12.44 a kid just for the summer reading programs. In 2016, 2017, I'm sorry, these aren't in the same order. It was $8.37 a kid, so that was probably more in the middle range between those two. And then in 2017, 2018, it was $14.77 a kid. So those summer reading programs are more expensive. We're bringing in performers.
Right.
And Monica does try to keep them on the low end of the range. It's mostly paid for by the Friends of the Library. Thank you, George, for your support of the Sandy Library, and for Judith and the Hoodland Friends for Hoodland. Because the Friends did pick up a large amount of the cost even at Hoodland, especially this last year and the year before. $1,215 of the summer reading programs came from the Hoodland Friends. So I broke it out by the cost of the library, the cost of the Friends, and grant costs. In most years, Hoodland didn't get any grant money. We changed what the programs go to. The summer reading grant comes through the state library, and we have to give them a budget and things like that, and then they fund certain parts of our programs. The VISTA program is generally funded through that grant because we're reaching out to the Hispanic or Latino community for that program. So it's a more, I feel like, important program because of that. But the grant pays for most of the VISTA program, other than the supplies and things like that. It also pays for things like we got iPads at both libraries this last year with the, it's an early literacy and summer reading grant that you can apply for, and we got iPads at both libraries last year, so we could put early literacy apps on them for parents and kids to use together. So those are the kinds of things that the grant funds.
But you don't break it out between, say, VISTA and summer reading, you just put it in one line item.
In this report I did, but I do have the amounts for VISTA as opposed to the amounts for Sandy. The VISTA programs tend to be less expensive because we want more interactive hands-on programs there. At Sandy, we often have a performer come in and do like a puppet show, but at VISTA we have them do a puppet workshop. Because the kids kind of come and go, and so it's harder to keep them engaged all at one time. Whereas when kids come to a program at the library, they just expect a presentation ultimately. And then we do things at VISTA, like we had an origami workshop this last summer. So those are presenters that cost a lot less than the $450 presenter, for example. The Lego guy is a great example of a program that works at all three libraries. He comes to Sandy, he goes to Hoodland, and he goes to VISTA because he has an interactive, he brings Legos and has the kids build certain types of Lego structures. And so that's a great program for Vista as well as the libraries, because every kid loves Legos.
Did you say Hoodland they didn't qualify for the
No,
grant?
they used to be part of the grant regularly, and when I started on board, I was like, well, we've had the Hoodland Library for a long time. I feel like we just need to start incorporating those programs into our regular budget, and we need to think about some new and innovative things that we can do with this grant money.
Oh,
And that's when we
okay.
started going for summer reading at Vista,
Mhm.
and that's when we started using the early literacy portion of that grant, really.
Mhm.
Because before that, it was basically just paying for summer reading, and I thought, well, we could do that every year, but I feel like that's, you know, once a program becomes stable and you've been doing it for a while, I feel like it should become a part of your budget, and you
Yeah.
should go out for grant money for new and
New,
exciting
right.
things.
Yeah.
Well, Hoodland does a much better job of finishing summer reading program than Sandy. I know the sampling size is a lot smaller, but.
It's easier to see, yeah, but it's more like a third rather
Yeah,
than,
right.
Yeah.
And the free
Although-
comic book day was a smashing success.
Yeah. Hoodland has also started doing Dia de los Niños and Dia de los Muertos. Their numbers are much lower, of course, but I feel like they're still hearty numbers. 16 for Dia de los Muertos and 12 for Dia de los Niños in 2017, 2018. And that might be the first year that they did it. So they did it again this
That's
year,
great.
and they had something like 36 people for Dia de los Muertos,
Great.
which is great for that community. Hoodland only has about a population of that the service area is about 5,500 people total. So
Okay.
So what are you gonna deal with the overcapacity of the room there?
because it's a small room too. I mean, when
Yeah.
I don't know if any
That
of you
could
went
get
to the
small
Brian
real quick.
Doyle. He went up to Hoodland as an author and did an author talk there, and there were something like 72 people there, and their room in theory only holds 26.
Right.
Yeah, and it was spilling out into the library. I mean, it was, yeah. So it is an issue up there as well. Not quite as pressing as Sandy, because it's probably,
It's rarer, right?
yeah, it
Well, we
is
have fewer
rarer.
programs right
Yeah.
now up there than we do in Sandy.
Yeah. But, I mean, their summer reading programs had on average 22 people, which is probably right at the room capacity, but most of their ongoing programs are under the capacity, and all of their special programs have been under capacity except for that a few adult programs. The ukulele program this past summer, the adult ukulele program that was at Hoodland had 31 people at it. So that was definitely over capacity. And when that happens, we spill out of the room.
Well, couldn't that be done outside though?
It could possibly. I mean, we would definitely have to figure out, I mean, we don't even have that many chairs in that library.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Tell people to bring their own
Yeah,
chair.
bring your own chair.
Bring your own chair and your own ukulele.
And your money.
Yeah.
Drop it in the donation jar.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we're ready to move on to old business. Proposed bylaws.
That's a typo there.
So since I sent this out, Kathy had one comment about our proposed bylaws that I think is well taken. And it was in, which section was it in, Kathy?
It's the last one.
The
It's on the
amendments.
amendments.
Yes. So, which says, these bylaws, let me see if I can bring it up so that we can actually see it well enough. These bylaws may be amended at any regular meeting of the Sandy Hoodland Library Advisory Board by a quorum, provided notice of such amendment has been given to all board members at least 7 days prior to the meeting. So it could just say by a majority.
It doesn't even, the old text said 2/3.
Right.
And what I had asked Sarah was, did she want it to just be a majority? If it's a majority, all it needs to say is it may be amended at a regular meeting.
Because we don't generally hold a meeting without a quorum, and we wouldn't.
You can't hold a meeting without a quorum,
Yeah,
technically.
yeah.
So the word quorum there wasn't helping clarify the issue. So if everyone's okay with it just being a majority vote, and since these amendments are just they're clarifications really to what the city has already established is the mandatory requirements for this, it would seem that a majority vote would be fine.
Well, and I think that simplifies it too, because then we're not having to give 7 days notice, you know, of it's already on the agenda, it's already on the calendar for our meetings. So doing it at a regular meeting to me makes a whole lot of sense.
You would still need the 7 days notice though to make a bylaw change.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if it's not posted on you mean if it's not on the agenda?
No, the whole point of this is generally when bylaws are changed, they're deemed important issues
Right.
that you want to make sure people have enough time to consider.
Yeah.
So unlike getting an agenda, which could probably come out within 2 days before a meeting, if that happened to be the case, for this one particular area, there's a mandate that there be at least a week to consider them.
Because we're only required to get the agenda out 24 hours before
Right.
the meeting, in theory.
Okay.
I've been trying to do it a week in advance just to give you time, especially now that I can attach all of the attachments to it and you can review things in advance. I've been trying to do it a week so that we have time to review it in advance and be informed by the meeting time.
I like that, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why in this one particular section, there is a special provision for longer notice.
Okay. Makes sense.
So what was your proposal then again, Kathleen?
We
Not by
we
quorum,
would
but
delete
quorum.
by a quorum. Does that do it?
Well, yeah, by a majority.
No,
vote?
don't say
No?
anything. Just
Oh.
say, at a regular meeting,
Ah,
because then just the rules of a regular meeting would apply, which is a majority vote of those present, as long as you have a duly constituted meeting having satisfied the quorum.
Yeah, provided notices of such amendment was given in 7
Right.
days. Yeah,
So we would just delete those 3 words.
yeah, by a quorum.
Quorum, right. So can I move that the bylaws, that Article 7 amendments be amended to remove the 3 words by a quorum? Is that what we need to do?
Sure, I'll second that. Is there any more discussion on that? No? Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed to it? Okay.
But now we need to actually vote on the bylaws.
Mm-hmm.
So then I'll move that we approve the proposed bylaws as amended.
I'll second.
Any more discussion on that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All the motions carry, I should have said. Okay, next.
That's it, isn't it?
Are
Now,
we
as a hanger-oner to the bylaws question, I'd like to suggest 2 things. Number one, you created a position for the head of the Friends of the Library, but you created a position where all I can do is come and sit and talk but not vote. And so, after attending about 12 or 13 meetings this last year, I think that if you want somebody from the Friends there, create a position, but give it a voting position, not just,
An
you're
advisory to
there
the
as, you know,
advisory.
just bring money is about what it amounts to.
Well, I don't,
And then,
I wouldn't look at it. We always valued your input.
well, but, you know, I'm just saying that you value your input, but I come and attend, but that's out of my hide with not any input other than just talking about it. So it's just a question about why, if you want somebody from the Friends to come, that you don't invite them to have a say in what's going on here. The second one is it's the chairman of the Friends, or is the way it's designated, and that's always a problem. And I think it should be relaxed to somebody representing the Friends.
It says
I
now a
think
designee.
We say designee in the current bylaws.
Okay.
It was
The chair
changed.
or
It was
their
changed.
designee.
Good.
Yeah.
To pick that up.
Never even knew that.
Well, it didn't say that before, but it says it now.
Yeah, I know, but I didn't, even after it said it, that it was being changed, I didn't know about it. Anyhow, as I say, that's just my input, and you can deal with it as you like, but the next time, you know, it may not be somebody as faithful, like, frankly, from Hoodlands, who has a position, but in fact, never has attended. So it might be the same thing in Sandy at some time. Who knows, depending upon who that is.
I mean, which might be fine. I mean, it depends on the type of interaction that you want to have with the library. I mean, and that's why we left it up to, if we were to make them voting positions, then those people would be required to come to meetings so that we could have a quorum, ultimately. So we were trying to leave it flexible. So if you want to come, you can. If you don't want to, it doesn't affect the rest of the group, ultimately.
But that's sort of like saying, well, you know, we don't really care whether you come or not. I mean, do you want somebody to come or not? I mean, do you want the inclusion? That's all I'm speaking about.
Personally, I've gotten a lot of benefit from you coming to the library board meetings and from your interaction with me as the chair of the Friends. I've started to be invited to the Hoodland Friends of the Library group, which I think is good. So that interaction is starting to happen, and maybe the more I go to those, maybe the chair of the Hoodland Friends will start coming to these meetings. Judith is talking about stepping down as the chair of the Hoodland Friends as well. So we may have two totally new chairs of the Friends of the Libraries anyway. It might be time to think about that and look at it, but I do worry about having a quorum, because there are many months when we don't, which is why we basically canceled December and January already, because we knew we wouldn't likely have a quorum at those meetings. So if we added you in as part of that quorum, it might become more and more difficult to get a quorum.
No, that just means it's more important for me or the person who is the chairman to be there.
It's true.
It's an obligation.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's not an obligation.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know,
We specifically reduced the library board number of members from 11 to 7.
7.
And I would hate to go back up to 9.
Yeah.
We could have, I mean, we currently have 3 open positions, 1 in Hoodland and 2 in Sandy. We could make those positions be the Friends of the Library or their designee, but without having the Hoodland Friends present to express their opinion, I don't know if that would be a good idea or not.
But George, there are boards or committees that, like, you're invited to come here and you're in an advisory position to us. And they don't, not everybody always has a vote.
Well,
You're
It's
like
for the-
associate member, or,
I don't have a vote either, and I come.
We're glad that you do.
yeah,
What would we talk about if Sarah didn't bring everything?
yeah.
it's not an unusual structure that
Well,
we're asking.
as I say, that's, you know,
Yeah.
that's your decision to make, but
Mhm.
I've been faithful to come.
Yes, very, and I think we
Now,
all appreciate it very much.
This is my last meeting,
We'll miss you.
and
You're
so.
invited anytime.
Yeah, but the point is, there may be somebody else who doesn't have the interest or commitment to it, so in effect, there is no tie.
You
It's-
would be a hard person to beat for commitment. Yeah.
Well, but, you know, that's neither here nor there. I think it's a
Well,
commitment
it's a
to the
valuable-
position, and so if you want somebody, then there is, you know, it's only up to their personal,
Mhm.
you know, commitment. And so, you know, be that it may be, you know, come February, see what happens.
Yeah.
I think a lot of these committees that we're on is because of personal commitment, not just because we come, because I can vote.
Oh, it's,
And that's what brings people to the meeting, because they might, it's not because they might vote on something that I won't like. It's because
I mean,
we're
the-
committed to it.
the voting is not, you know, the critical issue. I think it's the commitment that you're asking somebody to make. And if the commitment is to somebody who is committed, has been in Sandy, in Hoodlands, not committed. So in effect, then you can't get rid of them either. So, you know,
Yeah.
I just leave that for you to chew on.
Mhm.
It's your board, and I'm just giving you my impressions after
Yeah.
a year of
Yeah.
attending, and just suggesting that
Mm-hmm.
you might consider that.
Thank you for bringing that up, George.
Yeah.
As part of the staff updates, can I ask you to tell everyone about the Friends of the Library and where you are? You're gonna step down as the chair.
Right.
Do you have any idea of what process they may go through to find their next chair?
They're struggling.
Okay.
I mean, that's, you
Oh,
know.
you haven't been replaced?
No, I'm committed to our meeting in December. It's a December 7th meeting, and that'll be my last one, and then from there, so time-wise, this is my last one that would fit here.
Mm-hmm.
So stay tuned.
Okay.
I guess we'll know more when we meet in February,
Mhm.
hopefully.
I mean, I'll stay on the
The board.
Friends board,
Mhm.
you know, but I'm taking off the.
Cloak.
Oh, no, not
The
the.
epaulets.
It's all of the things that keep pulling it along, you know, the straps around it.
Huh. Okay, so noted. We appreciate your advice. We'll have to,
And commitment.
Mm-hmm. And input.
So as I stated in the email to you, the board members, the city manager interviews are this coming Friday. And so staff are interviewing on Friday and the city council is interviewing on Saturday. So I think we have 4 candidates currently and hopefully they're all good. The staff is not reviewing any application materials ahead of time. We're gonna just go in and the idea is we're mostly looking for fit. because they've already been vetted, and then the city council obviously has the final decision on who we hire. So the staff members will give our input and how they answer the questions that we are asking them, but that is, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Is
How
the
many
new-
applications did we get? Just 4 applications?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
They narrowed it down from something, I don't remember exactly how many applications, but I know it was more than 20. It
Okay.
was something like 27, and then they narrowed it down to like 9, and then to 6, and now it's down to 4.
Okay.
So
And Mr. Pulliam will be involved in
he is, there are 2 staff panels, and there's one citizen panel, and it has basically business leaders and members of the community, and Stan Pulliam is on that because, you know, we weren't sure what was going to happen, but his input would have been valued either way, whether he became mayor in January or not. So he and Aaron Bayer from the school district, I'm trying to remember, there is a local real estate agent, there's the Chris from the Chamber of Commerce. There are a lot of business people who are on that panel, so there are 3 panels. There's one with department heads, there's one with staff, and then there's one with those citizen members on Friday. And then on Saturday, it's just city council.
So, how do we proceed with our 2 candidates to hear what the?
So since we're not meeting till February,
Yeah.
I would think we would probably want to, generally you come to a meeting, and then if you want to join, you can apply for a position online. And I know that you already have applied, Lynn. If you're still interested after tonight, Blanca, you can go online and apply. And I think that Jerry and I should interview you and get the information out to the group before our next meeting, so that at the February meeting we could approve you to become members if the group feels like that's the way to go with it. And so probably if you want to apply, go ahead, and then in the next, when do you leave on your trip?
Well, I'm leaving Sunday.
Okay.
For another.
Okay.
one.
How long are you going to be? So maybe it'll be Heather and I that.
Yeah, I'll be back the 28th, but then I'm gone again on the 4th. So.
The 28th of November you'll be back?
Mm-hmm.
Not
Awesome.
the Friday. Not the Friday. No, sorry. Never mind.
That
That's
is
a Wednesday.
Thursday, I think.
It's a Wednesday.
Right on the wall right there.
It's a Wednesday. 29th is Thursday.
Yes.
Oh.
So you'll be back on a Wednesday.
Thursday.
Okay.
We can set it up for Thursday. And you're at the Hoodland Library on Thursday?
Yeah.
Okay. We could meet there on the 29th. Because she's already done her application. I'm assuming she's going to come back.
Okay.
So.
Okay. So we'll
29th.
try to set up an interview time, whether it's with Jerry or with Heather and I. Heather is our vice chair.
Mhm.
Jerry is the chair. So
Mhm.
one of us.
Lynn is the
one group of
secretary.
us.
Yes. Hallelujah.
Yeah. Okay. Anything
And then
else?
once we basically, at our next meeting, approve you to become members,
You're in.
then we have to take it to city council, and then city council appoints you to the board.
Yeah.
Then they have to have vetted by the county.
So
Okay.
a question for you is, having seen what we do in a meeting,
Yeah, right.
do you have any concerns or questions that came up?
It's a lot of information. Yeah,
It is
it is,
a
yeah.
lot, but I think it's something interesting from part of you guys. I actually I am a member in Head Start, and we pretty much do the same thing like you guys do here. And we have people that represent us in the state and things like that. So
Mhm.
I kind of have an idea. Obviously, it's a totally different information. It's not the same thing, but yeah.
Yeah, so the format, kind of the hierarchy
Yes.
and the path of action, et cetera, is really similar. Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's not surprising to me. I mean,
Yeah.
it's sort of what you would expect. The thing that's different for me is the city government and that side of it. OPBM and obviously many board meetings, but it's an independent nonprofit.
Right.
Yeah, I have to admit, I don't keep track of the Sandy politics too much.
It's got enough to do with Hoodland, right?
Yeah, we have our own.
You have your own little
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
It was interesting, someone asked me today how I voted on a Sandy issue, and I said, oh, we don't get to vote on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
no, should we, by the way, but it was
Yeah, one thing I want to point out, just going back to you two lovely candidates and possibilities, is that every meeting that we have is virtually different. And so where this was dealing with bylaws and so on, we could be doing something completely different, brainstorming about a new space, or so the
And in fact, when I was talking about that, I was thinking that as a board, we should probably, we should have a brainstorming session at our next meeting about the library annex and thinking about
Right.
how to utilize that space in the best way possible.
Yeah.
And probably in flexible ways, and thinking, okay, if it was gonna be in
right.
this type of location or in this type of location, if it was gonna be 800 square feet or 2,400 square feet, you know, that makes a big difference as well. We would have to think about all the different possibilities, because I have no idea where we might end up with that space. I wish it could attach to our current building,
Right.
obviously,
Yeah.
but
We don't have a space big enough to attach
no.
nearby. But I just wanted to bring that up because it's,
Right.
this might seem kind of dry, and, but,
If you redid your bylaws every meeting, I'm
yeah,
thinking,
yeah, right, yeah.
And we try to keep our meetings to an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. If we start running over a couple times, I think we decided
It's-
that we'll do that next time we're going.
All right.
After we go.
Yeah,
So,
good boundaries.
well, if there's nothing else, anything else from the floor? No? We can be adjourned.
So I need to get this computer to see the mouse again so that I can turn off the audio. So just to be aware, the audio is still running.